Our next candidate is Lauren Coe. He is a police chief of Republic, Washington, and as part of his professional responsibilities had to be in court today. So he has sent his campaign manager, Christopher Gergen, who is going to present his positions for you. Christopher?
Tonight we stand upon the precipice of greatness. We have tremendous opportunity that is set before us to fundamentally transform our state from one whose present course is really barreling headlong into calamity, into a model of prosperity and unrivaled growth. You know, elections have consequences. Just like the upcoming 2020 presidential election, whom we choose to elect as your next governor is equally consequential. See, this decision is not one that we should take lightly, nor is it a decision that we should make based upon the status quo or establishment politics. It's been over 12,500 consecutive days, almost 3.5 decades since a Republican has served as governor. And what do we have to show for it? Constant threats to our state sovereignty, to the communities and neighborhoods where our children play together and attend school, to our quality of life, and to our guaranteed God-given, non-negotiable constitutional rights. See, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the cusp of making modern history in Washington. So the question is, why Lauren? Well, he's fought to preserve and strengthen our rights, especially our right to keep and bear arms, not to infringe upon them, to make safer and more secure the places that we live and work, and to protect our most vulnerable residents, including those suffering from mental illness and drug addiction. See, Lauren will tell you what you need to hear, ladies and gentlemen, not necessarily what you want to hear, because he cares about your and your family's well-being, about a low-tax, smaller government that allows working families and small businesses to flourish and to thrive, about high-quality education, and about restoring honesty, integrity, and common sense to Olympia. He will always keep the promises that he makes because as a police chief, a United States Army veteran, a husband of 41 years, father of 2, grandfather of 7, a fellow Washingtonian, that his word is his bond. See, Lauren's the only candidate in this race who has raised his hand and taken an oath to defend our Constitution and our nation against all threats, foreign and domestic. He's also the only candidate in this race who voluntarily and willingly signed a blank check on behalf of our republic, payable up to and including his very life if necessary. This sense of duty compelled him to later swear an oath to serve and protect his community as a law enforcement officer. It was this sworn oath and dedication to defending our constitutional freedoms that inspired him to openly defy our governor's push to restrict our state constitution and U.S. constitutional right to keep and bear arms. And there was no political calculus in his defiance. No grandstanding, no thoughts of scoring cheap political points. In fact, his open defiance of the governor's edict placed his job as chief of police in jeopardy. But Lauren had the courage to lead and endure the slings and arrows. He displayed bravery in the face of tyranny. And he showed each of us in this room tonight that what one person can do when they plant their flag, defend their values, and refuse to back down. You know, it's reasonable to believe that 4 Republicans running for governor would have similar positions regarding many of the issues that we face here in Washington. While the candidates generally agree on the many issues we face, Lauren could not be more different from his opponents in his approach to solving these problems. You know, one of the most highly visible challenges we face across the state is the drastic increase in homelessness. Some of our opponents have gone on record saying the solution to our homeless crisis is to build more units to house them. And I would ask, at what cost to taxpayers? The solution doesn't square with their promises to cut spending and reduce taxes. We find that this curious position is also the same position as our current governor. As is typical of politicians and the political elite, they talk about symptoms while ignoring causes. They'll offer you an aspirin for your broken leg rather than do the hard work of setting the bone. Answering the question of what Lauren is going to do about homelessness begins by asking what we have asking why we have a problem of homelessness to begin with. At a time when our nation's economy is experiencing record-breaking growth, unemployment rates at lows not seen in over a generation, and historic employment highs for women, Black Americans, and Hispanic Americans, why do we have an epidemic of poverty and crime in Washington? The answer lies in the current public policy that does nothing but form an unholy partnership between the state and the drug dealers who distribute narcotics to addicts and sweep the homeless and mentally ill from one location to another, just like dust in the wind. In the coming weeks and months, Lauren's going to lay out his specific plan to address the root causes of our homelessness and addiction epidemic, rather than just regurgitate the symptoms for cheap political gain. Lauren is going to set the bone, while many of our opponents are just simply going to offer you an aspirin. Regarding the gun ban, Lauren is the only candidate in this race to be on the tip of the spear, shoulder to shoulder with like-minded gun owners, and has built a coalition of support spanning the political spectrum that typically divides us. He's spoken on the national media, including Fox News, One America News, and others, regarding his position of defending the Constitution and the Second Amendment specifically. I cannot be more clear tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that the Second Amendment is not optional. The balance of freedoms enshrined in our sacred Constitution are not optional, and Lauren will support and defend these freedoms against the many attempts by the radical left in Olympia who wish to limit or eliminate completely your rights. Lauren will not compromise, as one of our opponents has already done regarding red flag laws and bump stocks. He will not entertain backdoor methods to place barriers between you and the exercising of your freedoms. Lauren also believes in the sanctity of life and will reject any attempt by the left to permit late-term partial birth or the horrible post-birth abortion. A society that murders the weakest among them is morally bankrupt and frankly hopelessly misguided. Lauren will have the integrity to lead, the compassion to care for our children, whereas others are content to compromise. When our opponents and our current administration want to offer you an aspirin, ladies and gentlemen, Lauren will set the bone. One of the many reasons we choose to live in Washington is the unsurpassed beauty of its landscape. Overregulation, subversive political activism, and rampant mismanagement of our natural resources have led to devastating forest fires, unbalanced ecosystems, and economic hardship for our timber workers, our fishermen, and other industries. I've run out of time, but I was almost done, so thank you very much.
Question and answer.
Yeah, question and answer.
I just will kick it off with the same one I have.
Same
before.
question.
Yeah, I basically am concerned that, like, if you've got rules written, to
I
keep those
understand.
same guys in place, you're gonna have a hell of a time undoing those rules.
Right, I
And
understand
you have
that,
to
and
say,
that's-
somebody come in and say, let's do away with these guys.
So I worked for the president during the 2016 election,
Yeah,
and I helped with the transition. And I can tell you this, that part of the transition period is analyzing who you're playing with
yeah,
when game time comes. And they'll, as was mentioned before, you just can't come in and fire everybody, right? You still have a show to run.
well,
But there are people that you can target that need to be out on day one, obviously. But you need to take a look at how the system is set up, who the players are, who are the people that need to be replaced, and then put a system in place to take those people out
Yeah.
when they need to be taken out. And then obviously to take a look at the rules and regulations that are in place that need to be removed or need to be, or to have sunset,
Sure.
Yeah.
You need to, and I'm not sure, you don't need to remove an awful lot, is what I'm getting at, because you're gonna always have somebody coming into your side, like Trump has been picked off.
Sure.
They try to pick off Trump, and you probably noticed that.
Any Republican, regardless whether it's my candidate or any of the others, is going
You
to
got a heck
suffer
of
the
a
same.
bureaucracy out there,
it's
it's
gonna
been a
suffer the
long
same,
time with a certain party.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next question.
I'm going to ask the same question I had before, which
Okay.
is how do you get your name out there in a state in which not everybody's going to know Lauren Colt?
So we have divided the state into regions, and currently we have every region filled. The state has been divided into 10 regions. We have 10 regional directors, and we have found fantastic support. We're doing a lot of rallies and meetings and fundraising, and right now is the time to raise money. We are making sure to get to 39 counties. You got to get to all of them, and even the smallest one. I think Soden is the smallest county. or it might be Ferry County.
I thought it was Wakaiako.
Okay, I don't know, there's only a couple, like, there's more livestock than there are people there, I'll tell you that right now. But we're gonna get to them all, we're gonna talk to all of them, absolutely. Yes,
So
ma'am.
you mentioned what he's not gonna do, not building more housing, which I'm in agreement with.
Sure.
What is his plan for homeless issues?
So what he's done in his district is, the chief of police, was he got aggressive with the dealers. And by taking out the dealers and stopping so what we're doing is we're giving the homeless and the addicted access to drugs, which forms a partnership, de facto partnership with the dealers. So what they did up in his district is they took out the dealers, and then the people that were addicted, they were given a choice. They could either go to jail, or they could go through and follow the court's rules and go through a program to get clean. And it's been a fantastic success. Yes.
Thank you.
So,